one new Hyundai or Kia car, whatever, today is one Bitcoin. Yeah. In 10 years' time, how many Kia cars can one Bitcoin buy? Right. Is it one, still 1, 2, 4? Because if it's more than 1, you made profit as well on your money. You kept the value, but you also made some profit on it. This is what we want, basically. But the important thing is to see it first as a store of value. Okay, we always need something that's finite in supply. Yeah. And next year, Bitcoin's inflation will be less than gold. Okay, it's an important metric to see and check.
I think one important factor though here is that Bitcoin will only be accepted as long as there is a population that accepts it.
Welcome to the Financial Frontiers podcast. My name is Dinos. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share this channel. It helps us create more content and deliver more episodes for you. Hope you enjoy this episode.
Hello. Today, another podcast session on the Financial Frontiers. My guest today is someone who I actually recently met an outreach, Nasos Katsiamides, Bitcoin evangelist, as you've called yourself. I'm really interested to hear what you have to say. Let's enlighten our audience. This conversation is going to be mainly based on Bitcoin, blockchain, maybe other cryptocurrencies, maybe other blockchains, why they're used, why they're not used, where they are useful. Let's hear what you have to say. Naso, you've got some good experience here. Let's hear about you, your experience, your background, and let's have a good conversation. Yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me, and congrats on what you're doing here. I have a background in economics and business. That was my studies in London. And I first heard about Bitcoin actually, remember what happened in 2013 with the deposit haircuts in Cyprus, in the Cypriot banks. And like every sane person, let's say, at first, you hear about the digital currency and you think it's a scam, yeah? But after some experiences I had in my life, around 2015, I've heard about it again. During a venture I had at that time, and 2016 I got hooked. Basically, I got hooked. I love the technology. I love the concept. I love the values that it brings out, and I love the community. And then I used my economics background to actually understand it, not only technologically wise but also economically wise, why it makes sense and why use it in the real world, yeah, why it's needed. And I built a business around it. It's been some years now. We help people actually use it legally, pay with it legally, and build products around it that actually help not only Cypriots and Europeans, but let's hope with our new products we can help people around the world to have property rights, basically, property rights, to own something that's actually theirs.
Okay, that's good. So that's what you're currently doing in your business. You're actually putting practical products, practical examples, real world, real life case examples where you're solving some kind of problem through your current business.
Exactly.
Let's run through some of these. How does one even start to even do that, right? And then what would be the actual benefit of the consumer? So let's take one use case. You mentioned real estate.
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about real estate, and we've talked about real estate in this podcast, but very briefly in the past in one of our previous podcast sessions, and it was just an example theory, and it's really exciting that you've actually done something practical. Now, let's hear about this. Mm-hmm. What have you done exactly? Let's start with that. What solution have you solved? What does the product do?
So basically, it's really simple. Yeah, it's just payments. Yeah, but if you're going to pay with anything else than euros, yeah, or fiat currency, yeah, even dollars or whatever else, it's very difficult to do any KYC or KYT as we call it, know your transaction. Yeah, we have to prove that the funds given to any real estate either agency or developer, it's legit, it's legal. Yeah, it didn't come from any illegal activity. So that's the basis of what we do. We give a risk scoring on the funds that will be sent to the real estate developer, which is, if not the most important thing, it's one of the most important things in a transaction, you know, to know that the funds given are legal, you know. And we facilitate all of that. If the real estate developer wants to exchange it to euros, we can facilitate that through legal means to do it. Or if they want to keep their Bitcoin on their balance sheets, we can help them do that accounting-wise. My partner is an accountant. I have a partner in the business, an auditor and an accountant, which he can help in doing that properly and legally.
Okay, so so many questions have come up for me here in what you just described. The first very obvious question that's very loud in my mind is, let's say I'm a real estate developer. I've built a block of flats, 6 apartment blocks, and I'm ready to sell these for 300,000 euro each. What you're saying is somebody's able to purchase that through your solution using Bitcoin. And the caveat here, the important differentiator is that the funds that I'm receiving in Bitcoin are funds that are not from an illegal source. You have whatever checks you have in place that verify that the money that I'm receiving from whoever's buying these apartments, which is in Bitcoin, is clean. It's clean money. It's not it's not being laundered. Okay. My first very real question is, I'm based in Cyprus. Let's continue this example. And I have bank accounts, and I'm in Cyprus, and I have my bank accounts in the bank. We know today that the banks are not crypto friendly. So if I've received money in crypto, be it legit, you know, done the checks, so you know it's all proper, right? No illegal source. The bank doesn't want to hear it, because when I go and I convert that, and here's another question. So I receive the Bitcoin, and then I can convert it to fiat euro, for example, still on your platform, or does that convert to fiat and somehow based on the approval of the bank to receive the money in my bank account?
So the main banks in Cyprus, they will have a very hard time to convince them to accept crypto funds, yeah, and Bitcoin funds. The first thing we need to do, though, is to show them that there is a solution to know that these funds are legal, they didn't pass through any illicit activity. That's the first step, yeah. And my job as a Bitcoin evangelist, as you said, is to try my hardest to convince them and to show them what this is all about. Yeah, that's the first step. We don't really use them. Yeah, we have connections with many banks around Europe, especially in Switzerland, which is an amazing country to do banking with and in. And but some other banks as well. In Greece, it's fine with it, but there are certain rules that you need to follow. Yeah, and we know all these rules. Some other regulations that, 6 months ago, maximum they came up, the MICA regulations, MICA. We need to follow those as well. It's a lot of pages, but yeah, if you know what you are doing, it's very easy to follow them, you know. But we had most of them already in place. But yes, to answer your question briefly, yes, you can accept euro and fiat currency in your bank accounts, because it's very easy to open a bank account if you are a legit person or business. It's very easy to open bank accounts outside of Cyprus, for now at least, until, you know.
So yeah, I guess it's just a matter of time until other countries who are not so open to crypto slowly start accepting it.
They will not have a choice.
They will not have a choice. And
The first step, though, if I may interrupt you, the first step, though, is for them to accept it as collateral. Yeah, so let's say if you have 10 Bitcoins and it's around $250,000 now, to accept it as collateral for you to get a loan on it.
That'll be a massive game changer.
Yeah, that will be the first step in recognizing it as a legal tender, a legal asset. And then move on from that, you know. I mean, there are countries like El Salvador that you can even pay your taxes with Bitcoin. You know, it's a legal currency in El Salvador, not just as a collateral and stuff with banks. You can actually use it to pay for, even in a market, you know, even in a market they can accept Bitcoin.
Well, the day that happens is, in my mind, the day when the world has officially accepted Bitcoin. Because if you think about the banks, what does the bank do? They sell money, right? That's what they do. And they sell money in the form of loans because they charge interest on that. That's how they earn their revenue. And the way they do that securely is with collateral that they accept as something valuable for them to not lose the money that they're giving you, that they're loaning. Today, real estate, you know, a fixed asset like, you know, a house or a building or land is acceptable to the bank. But there's so many strict, you know, they do it in a very kind of conservative way. So if there's a piece of land worth $1 million, they will accept, 60% of that value as collateral. The day that they accept Bitcoin as collateral, that would be game over. Bitcoin has been incorporated into the system, finished. Is there any bank that's doing that today?
There are applications to do it abroad, of course not in Cyprus yet, but there are thoughts, because there is a famous saying, if you can beat them, join them.
Yeah.
They've tried to actually beat Bitcoin, but now the BlackRock, let's say, they are building ETFs around it, spot ETFs, which is a massive move for Bitcoin, because spot ETF there's a lot of difference between a spot ETF and a futures ETF. You're not trading futures, you're trading actually the spot price. So that will have a massive impact on the price as well. But after the ETFs, I think banks are going to come to play.
BlackRock are creating or already have a spot ETF.
No, it's not approved yet.
Based off of the price of Bitcoin? Or?
A spot ETF, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And after BlackRock, like 10 other companies, maybe more, they filed an application as well for a spot Bitcoin ETF.
Well, if you think about the likes of BlackRock, who,
trillions.
10 trillion, whatever it is, they're massive. They're massive.
I think they own, with the Vanguard, I think they own 70% of Nasdaq. I mean, something like that.
Yeah.
Crazy. Like
they control. That's the real government.
Exactly. But they tried to beat it, I'm sure. But they couldn't beat it, so they joined it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, makes sense. So back to your product. So somebody, you basically have given one of the products is through real estate.
Luxury items, basically. Yeah.
So expense high price
for now,
items.
high-end items. Yeah.
The ability for the owners of these high-end items, the sellers of these high-end items, to accept Bitcoin in a legitimate way.
Exactly, that's the point.
Okay.
Because you can accept it like you have your own wallet, somebody can send you Bitcoin and that's it.
Okay.
But to accept it legally, you actually need to do some security measures in between.
Okay, so that makes it a lot clearer. And when we talk about blockchain or Bitcoin or whatever it is, and the practical examples that I was looking for, in my mind I was thinking, linking the blockchain technology on a smart contract to transfer the title deeds of a real estate. It's nothing like that. It's just a simple accept Bitcoin, but that's the main thing, it legitimately, which I think is very important to the path and the process of getting Bitcoin into mainstream.
Yeah, exactly. The point of Bitcoin, though, that's why we're building a few more products in the future that are in the pipeline now. We're building products for all types of people, yeah? So a product that will come next year, it will be basically a bazaar type of thing that you can sell your bicycle and get Bitcoin. As simple as that. My job, if I had to put a title on it, or umbrella term, is as we said before, a Bitcoin evangelist. So through my work, I will try to help everyone that wants to either accept Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin, use it, use the actual technology of it, understand it. And if we understand Bitcoin, then we then go on to understand economics much better, and that's the main point for me. If you understand economics and you understand money and you go back and study, you don't need a lot of hours. You need like 50 to 100 hours maximum to actually understand what's going on in the world, and why we actually need this. It's not just I'm paying in just a different currency. I can pay you in whatever I want. But why actually Bitcoin? That's the key question here, I think. And if I may, we have to talk about, we have to start from 90 years ago in the US, they confiscated all the gold, okay? They were able to do it.
They confiscated gold from where?
From everyone that had gold, 1933, I think. We'll have to check it out, but it was during those years,
In the US, whoever had gold in the US, they confiscated.
They confiscated.
What for?
Because they wanted for the price to rise.
Okay.
So if there's no gold in the market and there is some demand, of course the price will rise, Okay. So they had some excuse, but
I was going to ask.
I don't know who believes this kind of. Anyway, but the point is that they were able to do it.
To manipulate the price.
To actually take it, And now let's go to 10 years ago in Cyprus. They were able to take the money out of our bank accounts. They were able to do that. Nobody knew about insurances and 100,000. Nobody knew it. Maybe just 0.01% of the people knew it. But it wasn't common knowledge. That you are insured until 100,000 and then you're not.
And nowadays it seems to be a requirement from every consumer, like, is my money secure over here?
Exactly. So with Bitcoin, you don't even need to ask any question. And if you do have questions, there's no CEO or a marketing office or an HR office to do it. It's a decentralized network that nobody owns. And if you have your own private keys, which is basically your code to your wallet where your Bitcoin is, nobody can take your Bitcoin away from you. Nobody. Even if they have a gun on your head, they cannot take your Bitcoin. So basically, first, Bitcoin gives you 100% property rights. Okay. We can debate that if you have 100% property rights on your house. In my opinion, a tyrannical government can still take your house. Okay, because if you are going to put your money somewhere, you need to start from the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario for a real estate, let's say, it has a risk, basically a geographical risk. So your country might have a war or something like we've seen, unfortunately, now in Ukraine. You can just leave your house. The point with Bitcoin is that you can take it anywhere. It's divisible enough. So in one Bitcoin, there are 100 million Satoshis. It's like 100 cents in €1. It's 100 million Satoshis in one Bitcoin. So it's divisible. What else do we need out of hard money except divisibility and for us to own it 100%? We need it to be scarce. Bitcoin, there will only be 21 million, no more. And now we're at 19,500,000. Okay, so there's not a lot of Bitcoin to be mined still. The last Bitcoin will be mined 2,140, but approximately 10 years we are going to mine almost all of it. Okay, so we need something scarce. Okay, and we need to be able to send it and receive it like in seconds. Later on, if you want, I can send you some Bitcoin, because a common misconception is that it needs 10 minutes or 20 minutes or an hour to send Bitcoin. I can send you even a fraction of a cent in like not even a second.
Well, I can tell you from my experience that every time I've dealt with, but now that I come to think of it carefully, And the reason that I haven't actually paid attention to this is because I haven't had a real need to have my money come to me instantaneously. It has not been a need. I have never, been, at a point where I need to do a transaction on the, on the fly, and somebody needs to send me Bitcoin. It's never happened to me. Every time I've had some Bitcoin sent to me, because there's been cases where, and it doesn't matter what crypto it is, whether it's Ethereum or crypto, it takes a little bit of time until I see it on my my wallet. And I use Nexo as a platform, if you know them, and I had Coinbase, the mainstream ones, and there has been a little bit of time that's required. It's never been instantaneously. And this common misconception that you talk about is one that, because other people have floated that, right? And I'm going to ask you to elaborate on this, right? So, but before we get there, right? Bitcoin versus Ethereum. One of the things that maybe I was incorrectly led to believe, and you're going to prove it, is that Ethereum is just so much faster. Or there's other coins out there. There
are a lot of coins.
Yeah, the one Coti or Cardano. Yeah. Cardano apparently is like bang, super fast, as versus the Bitcoin blockchain, which is what is normally been told to me is outdated. So I'd like to hear your take on this. Is it outdated? Is it not? What's the reality? And let's prove it with a transaction at least.
Yeah, exactly. So first of all, the outdated part. Let's start from the end. Yeah, the wheel is outdated. Yeah, fire is outdated. Let's say. Yeah. The point is, we had fire, and then we learned how to control it and use it in different situations, in our everyday lives. Yeah, Bitcoin is a case like that. Yeah, we discovered something that technologically wise, we've solved a massive problem. Yeah, I'm sending you, let's say, an email. Yeah, and we both hold a copy. Yeah, we cannot do that with money. I cannot have one Bitcoin and you have 0, and then I send you one Bitcoin and we both have one Bitcoin. That's not how money works. Yeah, I hope that's that was the case, but it's not. Yeah, so we've solved that. Yeah, it was the groundbreaking solution of Bitcoin technology. Yeah, but to have that sort of thing, let's say, built into it. Yeah, so we know that there's 21 million Bitcoins. That each one of them, it's
allocated somewhere.
Yes. Okay. So now let's discuss about other coins. Yeah. Why are they fast? Okay. When you claim you are fast at something, then it means you are giving up something else. Okay. So Bitcoin is built. Basically, how the blockchain works in simple terms, yeah, we have a chain of blocks. In each block, there are data. Yeah, nowadays it's around 80% it's transactions. Yeah, you send me Bitcoin, I send you Bitcoin. Yeah, that's it. But there's data involved. If we're going to put numbers on it, it's around 2 megabytes, let's say, of data in each block, which transcends to around 2,700 transactions per block, which comes to about 150 million transactions per year, yeah, on the Bitcoin blockchain. So even the space in that chain, in the blocks, the space is scarce, yeah. So when there is a need, and there will be a need, a bigger need than there is today, to use a decentralized protocol so that no one has access to, yeah, that space is so scarce that the prices and the fees will rise, okay. Why do we choose, though, to have smaller blocks and not just 10 times the blocks, 100 times the size of the block? So the transactions will be much, much cheaper, yeah, like Cardano or you mentioned Code. These are completely centralized. Yeah. But in order to run a node on Bitcoin, it takes around 300 to 500 euros to own your own node. Yeah. A node is basically, it keeps a copy of the blockchain. On the Bitcoin network, there are hundreds of thousands of nodes. And we keep a copy of the blockchain. So everybody's honest in the blockchain. We keep the decentralization going. As many nodes as possible. That's the way of decentralization. When you have bigger blocks, then there is more data in it, so you need much faster, much stronger machines to do it, so the average person cannot run a node. So you are limiting basically the amount of people or businesses that can run a node. So it becomes more and more centralized. Why decentralization matters? It matters in again, the worst case scenarios, where somebody needs a hand in your money or your data. Like we've seen in the Cyprus banking crisis in 2013, the Bitcoin rose from $100 to $1,000 after the Cyprus banking crisis. Yeah, I mean, Cyprus did something amazing for, first time maybe, but still. After that, people lost trust in centralized authorities. Yeah, it's a matter of trust. If we lose trust, we need something that's trustless. So you need basically the decentralization aspect of Bitcoin. Why trust a centralized blockchain? It's still centralized. There's no point in having a blockchain if it's centralized.
So Ethereum, for example, is a centralized blockchain.
I wouldn't call it centralized. I will call it not decentralized enough for me to trust money that I'm going to give to my grandchildren, let's say.
Okay, so let me go back to...
So for me, Ethereum is not money. It's cool tech. It's not money.
Okay. Let's go back to a bit of basics over here, because when... And here's my take, which might be, lacking of some details, but you can fill those details in if you want. When we talk about this idea of centralized and not centralized, okay, and what technology makes that possible, right? The reason, in my understanding, that these technologies are decentralized is because the way the transactions are approved and validated are based off of some mathematical algorithm, some mathematical formula that if I do a transaction on the same blockchain and you need to verify that transaction, the formula agrees to it. This is how I've understood it, right? So it makes it decentralized in terms of the technology per se, as opposed to what I understand is centralized means one government or body or person or company or entity has full control of that technology. In the case of Ethereum, right, versus Bitcoin, they're both in their technology, right? What the technology offers is a decentralization, unless I'm wrong.
You are...
Correct me.
You are correct, but it's not. The decentralization is not built in the protocol. Yeah, decentralization means that. Let's use your example. You talked about Koti before, yeah, because I studied a lot of coins, okay, just to see the tech. Because I'm not talking, with no experience in coins and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm actually looking and studying a lot, to see what tech has been built and is being built. So Kodi used to have like 6 nodes, 10 nodes, 12 nodes. We talked about Bitcoin before. Bitcoin has hundreds of thousands of nodes. Yeah. So with 12 nodes, you can go to 7 of those nodes. You can find the 7 people. You can find them and change the protocol immediately. Okay. So decentralization means that it's impossible. Yeah. It's almost impossible to change anything on that blockchain. Yeah.
Okay, one question, and sorry that I interrupted there. I understand that about the nodes, right? And I don't know if this is correct, and you can correct me afterwards, is the same applies for Bitcoin. If the whole network of Bitcoin were 7 nodes, 1 in 7 different countries, and someone got control of 4 of them, they would be able to change stuff. Okay. I want this to be clarified to me. We have a ledger, right? That's the decentralization. This ledger, whether I have it and I've just gotten a fresh copy of this ledger, or you've had it since the beginning of this ledger, shows all the Bitcoin addresses that exist and how much Bitcoin they have, right? And
all the transactions.
And every transaction that happened, which were mined when a new one is mined, it's added to this ledger, etc., etc. If I take this ledger and I decide, okay, what I'm going to do is in my address, I'm going to increase this number from 0.01 Bitcoins and I'm going to make it 100, right? And then I change it. It's not going to work because your ledger doesn't agree with that.
Exactly.
Okay, and the reason that it doesn't agree with that, is that based off of the rest of the nodes that don't agree with it? Or is it based off of, if I give this to you, you don't check it against the other nodes, check it against this equation, or your computer that checks the equation. Yeah. This is what I'm understanding.
And if we don't agree on that, then it's invalid basically. So nobody can steal or change something without everyone agreeing basically.
So there's got to be a majority agreement.
Yeah. So it's a consensus mechanism basically, which is called proof of work for mining. Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying that Ethereum, for example, is not fully decentralized because it's expensive to run a node, and not every small person, every person in their own little home, whatever, with their small PC can be a node that participates in the Ethereum blockchain.
And also I do not agree with the consensus change they had like a year or 2 years ago. So Bitcoin is based on a proof of work technology. Yeah, proof of work means that you are proving that you did some work. Yeah, so you have your computers, your graphic cards and stuff like that, and your miners. You spend money on electricity. Yeah, and you solved a mathematical problem, let's say. Okay, and you created some Bitcoins. Yeah, so you showed some work before that Bitcoin was created. Yeah. In other systems, you don't really need to show any work. So most of the cryptocurrencies that exist now are worthless. Okay, they are worthless because there was no actual work behind it. It's like fiat currency. Yeah, after 1971, the US basically removed itself, from having gold reserves. Yeah, it became fiat, and the dollar became a fiat currency that's created out of nothing. Okay.
Just printing. They removed themselves from the gold standard and just print.
And just print. They have $33 trillion in debt now. Okay, but it became like that. Okay, you can create a token for many reasons. For fun. Okay, you want to put it in your game for branding purposes. You just want your company to have a token that your loyal clients will use, and all this stuff. Okay, I can accept that, and I see it being a thing. At some point, every celebrity will have their own coins or their own NFT and stuff. Okay, I can see that. But I want to dedicate my life in solving real problems, like important problems for the world. This is what I want to do with my life. For me, those are not important problems, okay? So it's only Bitcoin for me. Investing-wise, it's only Bitcoin for me, and values-wise, it's only Bitcoin for me. If something else exists that's more ethical than Bitcoin, and the technology, it's decentralized enough, so nobody else can help control. And when I say ethical, I mean Ethereum on the Genesis block, they mined for themselves, the Ethereum Foundation, like 20%, 30%, 40% of the tokens were mined and went to the Ethereum Foundation. So imagine now that the government says, we're going to create a token, or a government or a company or whatever. Yeah, let's say you create your own token, for your clients or your investors or whatever. Yeah, and you say, I have 1 million tokens. I will take 400,000 of it. 200,000 will go to my family members. Yeah, and the rest 400,000 will go to you guys. Okay, and when a lot of people buy, you start selling. Yeah, is that ethical? I don't think so. Yeah, you're basically stealing from your own people, So they sold a lot of Ethereum Foundation. They sold a lot of Ethereum to fund the foundation, It's not my cup of tea. Yeah, I've dealt with that. I bought some NFTs. I was excited at first. I wanted to see it and how it works, and can you make some money out of this? But then when I created my business, and just before that actually, but when I actually created my business, I said, that's enough. I have values. I don't want to promote anything else other than Bitcoin. That's ethical, and it's decentralized, and it's an asset. Yeah, it's recognized as an asset basically, because it doesn't have a creator.
Okay.
Like gold, doesn't have a creator.
So it's just your faith is in the way it's built, which is kind of genius in a way, in that, you know, to be truly decentralized is that the peer-to-peer is actually practically feasible, right?
Technologically wise and economically wise, which is nice to talk about that as well.
Yes. So economically wise, meaning you've got some maybe underprivileged countries, lower income jurisdictions like Africa or whatever it is, who can also still participate and have a node. Could a mobile phone be? So
even a Nokia 3310, I don't remember even the.
3310. I had one.
You can send Bitcoin through messages.
Can it be a node? Is what my question is.
No, the Nokia no.
No. So, but there are
the vision is
smartphones.
The vision is to have a node on your mobile phone at some point.
Yes,
that's the vision. But you mentioned poor people. So it's not only about poor people. It's for people that want to maintain the value of their efforts. We call that money. Bitcoin, first of all, is a store of value. You save your money in the Bitcoin network. You don't need a savings account. You don't need whatever is insurance policies and stuff like that. You just save your money in Bitcoin. If you can, 50 euros, 10 euros, 100 euros, 1,000 euros, $1 million per month, you just save it in the Bitcoin network. Euros, all fiat currency are falling knives. Okay. We've seen that in Venezuela, in Lebanon, in Argentina with the peso. Their currencies are worthless now. Worthless. If those guys held either the US dollar or euro and Bitcoin as a store of value, they will be saved. They will be saved because they can leave their countries with Bitcoin. They can pay with Bitcoin. They can do all sorts of things with Bitcoin, and they don't hold gold, so they can carry it around and stuff, or it might get stolen. A lot of benefits that we can discuss about digital assets and physical assets. And as a store of value, then it creates, for me at least, it created a sense of patience, not to make money now and be rich now or tomorrow, it created some sort of relaxation, I'm putting my money every month, or because it's my job, I'm timing a bit the market. Nobody can really time the market perfectly, but, when it falls rapidly, I'm just buying more than usual. That's it, basically. Why store of value, though? Why use a store of value? As a store of value, you need something that's scarce, limited in supply. That's why most people buy land. It's limited in supply. Of course, if you go to Dubai now, they're creating land out of nowhere. Okay, but still, land it's finite. So you need something finite. But Bitcoin is measured today in euros or dollars or whatever. In fiat currency, which is infinite in supply. They can just print tomorrow. They can just print trillions. So it's infinite in supply, and we are measuring something with a finite supply of only 21 million. So basically, the price can go to infinity. As long as they print, Bitcoin price can go to 1 million in like 5-10 years. I mean, you never know if they keep on printing.
So just put that in. Let's put that into a real, an example. Let's put it into a simple example. So, I've got this tea. Right? I paid €3.50 for this tea, and that's what it cost me today, right? If I had to pay for this in Bitcoin, and I'm going to create a simple example over here, it's whatever the value of €3.50 is converted to Bitcoin. Let's say it's 0.0001, 3 zeros and 1. It's less than that, I think, but
it's much less.
But much less. But let's just say it's that. Okay. 10 years down the line, because keep printing the printing machine is working overtime. The same cup of tea is going to cost me whatever, 20 euro, 30 euro in 10 years' time. And the concept here is that it will still cost me 0.0001 Bitcoin.
Or less.
Or less. That's the
concept of store of value, exactly. So you maintain your value of your efforts, or you maintain that through inflation.
And so when people, so that's a misconception. Like, it's a little bit, just to clarify it, right?
Yeah.
When people say the Bitcoin is going to become, go over $400,000, there's a tricky line here. Is it $400,000 of value, today's value, or is it $400,000 on what the value of the US dollar is going to be in 5 years?
That's a great point. That's why I liked your example. Let's use a similar or the same example, but just one new Hyundai or Kia car, whatever, today is 1 Bitcoin. Yeah. In 10 years' time, how many Kia cars can 1 Bitcoin buy? Right. Is it 1, still 1, 2, 4? Because if it's more than 1, you made profit as well on your money. You kept the value, but you also made some profit on it. This is what we want, basically. But the important thing is to see it first as a store of value. Okay, we always need something that's finite in supply. Yeah, and next year, Bitcoin's inflation will be less than gold. Okay, it's an important metric to see and check.
I think one important factor, though, here is that Bitcoin will only be accepted as long as there is a population that accepts it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's do some really extreme examples here. Let's try and find a vulnerability. And also, just for for disclaimer purposes, I think this is no advice at all. But there's everything's risky. Everything, just this podcast is just to enlighten. Everything is risky. That's what I'm going to say from the get. Everything is risky, even Bitcoin. Because here's an extreme example. We mentioned that the Bitcoin is secure in its decentralization based off of the nodes that can be anybody can participate in, right? But now we go on to a different macroeconomic level of discussion, where, let's say, the big population. So you got China, you got India. Let's say the BRICS even, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're 50% of the population. I don't know. Is it 50% of the population? Let's say that they are.
Yeah.
All right. But let's say out of all the Bitcoin population, they are 51%. And then they come up with a pact and they say, we control, let's get all the nodes. Or, they all decide, we're not going to participate. The dynamics changes. It's an extreme example, but...
It's not an extreme example. It's been talked about many times.
Okay.
We have an answer for that as a Bitcoin community.
Uh-huh, okay, cool.
And I will quote Andreas Antonopoulos, a big voice in this space. Yeah, he said, to do that, first of all, you need a government that can actually to write code. That's very difficult. But let's say they know how to write code. Yeah?
Okay, fair
and
enough.
they manage to 51% attack Bitcoin. Yeah, they will fork it, and they will just use a new chain. Because the good people, the good guys will continue with the same ledger, but in a different thing. And that's it.
So what fork means is, just for the audience who doesn't understand, in coding language, when you've got a certain application that's versioned, right? You've got version 1, version 2, version 3. That means that version has got whatever changes to the code, or improvements or added features to that code up to that version.
Exactly.
Then different communities can decide, okay, I like it up to this version, but I want to go and create these different features, and a different set of, another community might decide, I don't like your features, I want to create different ones. Mm-hmm. That's what a fork is called. So they fork it from that, and then, 3-point.
They create an improved, let's say, thing. It's not always improved, though, yeah?
But then also the original continues its updates, and then the forked version continues a different path.
Exactly.
So that's what forking is. It's just a split, of paths in an app or a solution, or code, in 2 different paths that are driven by different communities.
Mm-hmm. So basically, for me, that's not a risk, yeah? It's already talked about a lot of times. Increasing the block sizes to make it more centralized. It's already talked about. In 2017, we had the so-called block size wars. yeah, where a lot of people wanted to increase the size of the blocks, and thank God, a lot of people wanted to keep it as it was. Bitcoin was forked, Bitcoin Cash was created, Bitcoin SV was created, and now it's like 90% down in relation to Bitcoin or whatever, because they wanted to create something again faster and cheaper, and
Can we do a transaction?
That's what I was going to say now. Yeah. So I have the easiest wallet you can download. Yeah. It's a wallet of Satoshi, it's called. Yeah. There are a bit of a safer options that you hold your own keys, but this is the application, Wallet of Satoshi, it's called.
You have an Apple as well, so it's just on Google as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Wallet of Satoshi.
Mm-hmm. So again, this is the easiest one. There are much safer options out there. Let's briefly say what it is. It uses the Lightning Network on Bitcoin. Yeah, so we have the base layer, which is the Bitcoin blockchain, and then we built on top of that, which is layer 2, and it's called the Lightning Network.
Who's we? The Bitcoin community?
Yeah.
Okay.
When I say we mean, yeah, the Lightning, the Bitcoin community, yeah.
Okay, so I've downloaded it.
Yep.
I open, allow to send. Yep. Okay, welcome to Bitcoin, happy Bitcoining, start.
Yep. So receive.
So I've got 0, yeah.
Yep. So receive.
So I press on receive.
Yeah. So now you're presented with your address basically, which is like a username we have on Revolut or Facebook, that can send you Satoshis. By the way, one Bitcoin has 100 million Satoshis, okay? So now that we're close to each other, you just press this, and now you have access to the Lightning Network, yeah? So add amount.
Okay, so I clicked on this lightning bolt icon.
Yep.
And now this is giving me access to the Lightning Network. Okay.
Yeah.
So now I click, and did we click on receive before?
Yeah.
So
you have to click receive. There are only two buttons: send and receive.
Send or receive. So if I was going to send it, obviously be a different process.
You're
going to do that.
Receive,
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you receive now. You press the add amount.
Okay. So sats. So this is Satoshi. You mentioned 100.
So you just put 10,000 Satoshis. Let me see. Yep. So generate invoice.
$3.
Yeah.
It's giving me a QR code.
Yeah. I'm going to scan the QR code now. Okay. Can the camera see both phones? Because
I don't know.
Most of them say that Bitcoin is slow.
They must just trust what we're saying, yeah.
I've pressed it. It's sent and sent.
Oh, bang. Okay, that was instant.
Yep.
And
3 times faster than Visa and MasterCard.
And that's on the Bitcoin blockchain?
It's on the layer 2 of Bitcoin.
The layer 2?
Yeah.
And then when does it...
We don't want all those small transactions to be on the main chain.
But will this eventually go and update the main blockchain?
Yes. Because it will be settled on the main chain, yes. So we're using that for Bitcoin to go back and forth, but it's not an actual Bitcoin, it's an IOU of Bitcoin. Yeah. So the final settlement will be on the main chain. Yes.
What if there's a disagreement on the light chain?
What kind of disagreement?
So I'm going to ask you a question about security now. So you mentioned
it's still decentralized. It's built on Bitcoin. Yeah.
This Lightning Network is decentralized.
Yep.
But it hasn't actually been verified yet on the main blockchain.
Yes.
Right. So what if there is...
But the Bitcoin that entered the Lightning Network, it's verified because it was already on chain. So it was verified.
Okay.
But then all the transactions were batch transactions basically.
That are happening amongst...
Yeah. So if we have, let's say, 1,000 transactions, then all of those end up somewhere, and that Bitcoin ends up on the main chain to be settled again.
Okay.
Yeah. But still, there are nodes on the Lightning Network. It's decentralized enough now after 5 years because it's a 5-year-old tech. Yeah. It's not...
and it was pretty easy. And if we weren't close in proximity, we would have been able to do this. I'll send you share the QR code.
Or share the QR code of the invoice. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I can even send you a fraction of a cent. Yeah. And it will still. By the way, how many sats have you received?
10,000.
Exactly. Yeah. So no fees.
So there's no fees for this, and that's regardless of the size of the transaction.
Yeah, but the Lightning Network, we use it basically for smaller transactions.
Okay.
Because if you have like a real estate or a house, you are not going to use the Lightning Network. You're going to use the main chain.
All right.
Because you don't care if you pay $10 in fees instead of 3 or 4.
So you've transferred $3 to me today, and in
so if you invite me 30 times more,
if I invite you 30 times more, that's a good ROI. I don't know. No. But then what I was going to say is, in 10 years from now, I'll send you back $3 million.
I won't accept it. I want Bitcoin.
So I'll send you the sats then.
Yeah.
Okay, that was nice. Okay, good. A very basic app as well.
Yep. There are many apps that use the Lightning Network, many wallets.
And then I can go on this, and so there's the site that ETHScan or not. So ETHScan is one.
There is a similar one with Bitcoin that you can check, because we have to use it. Because if you say that you are going to send, let's say, 30 Bitcoins to buy a real estate, I need your address to see what transactions you did, where those coins came from, all these things.
Trace the full.
Exactly, trace the full,
How does one access that? Can I go and track this? Can I verify it myself?
Yeah.
I could. Okay.
Yeah, but you need some sort of knowledge to do it and some specific applications to use. But yeah.
So how would I do that? What do I do? A Google search and say verify my,
When you say verify, what does it mean exactly?
No, what I'm saying is, how can I myself check if the money that I'm receiving, the Bitcoins that I'm receiving or I'm about to receive is...
Besides hiring us, you mean?
Besides hiring you. Yes. Is it possible? Or will you make it possible for someone small? Because you spoke before about luxury items, people who want to buy apartments. That's a small selected group of people.
Yep. That's a very good question, actually. We're building a product now. We're in the midst of it now. We're building our own exchange, fully licensed and following the micro regulations and all of that for high-end purchases. And we will have this service inside the exchange. Yeah. So you don't need to pay any crazy amounts and stuff. It will be incorporated in the exchange. So basically, the money you receive will give it a risk score. So you know that if it's let's say 98% safe, then I can accept it. If it's 40% safe, then I don't want it.
But what does 2% unsafe mean?
Let's say it came through wallets that are blacklisted, or let's say you have 100 Bitcoins and 2 out of those 100 came from blacklisted wallets from the CIA, let's say.
But is that acceptable? Like even 2%, right?
He can send it back immediately.
Okay.
Through our wallets, because we have built crypto processing and our own wallets. We have them in-house. So you have an option to automatically remove high-risk funds. So to send it back, basically. You have that option. So you never mix low-risk money with high-risk money.
Okay.
It's a good option to have, I think.
Yeah, I mean...
And you say to your client, 2% of the funds came up high risk, so we'll have to return it. Yeah.
That's interesting, because I think exchanges like the one you're planning to build will be very good for businesses when we get to a world where Bitcoin is crypto, or even crypto generally. I mean, I understand your stance. It's Bitcoin and nothing else.
And stable coins. I've seen a lot of use case especially in poor countries. I've seen a lot of use case for stable coins.
Like USDT.
Even though they are a bit sketchy as businesses.
Yeah, there's some
but still because my aim is to help, and I know it helps people, so we might incorporate stable coins as well.
Yeah, and I think where it gets really useful when it's when we get to this world where crypto is generally accepted, then you start including this in company audits, right? So if I'm getting audited, the money that has been, if whichever the bank wants to audit my my money, right? They want to see, where do you get your money from? Well, I'm on this exchange, and you can see that I've only accepted any money that has got a score of 100% and nothing less. So, get off my case and just open me a bank account.
Yeah, but we're teaching banks about this now as we speak.
Yeah.
We're teaching banks on how to properly accept these kind of funds. Because I think there's a lack. That's a simple saying again. You never teach a kid how to run before they start to walk. In Cyprus, we are not ready for whatever I hear in the market, tokenization of real estate and stuff like that, even though I disagree completely with that concept, but still, we're talking about those concepts, and we still didn't solve anything in the real life.
The basics, yeah.
Because technology always runs faster than law, okay, and especially government infrastructure. We have to teach politicians, banks, lawyers, accountants. Yeah, those are the main industries we need to teach in order for them to understand that Bitcoin basically it's not Wild West. It's not a Wild West, and everybody's hiding money and laundering money and stuff. If you use our services, then basically no one can do that. If you know what you're doing, you can not use the Bitcoin network to launder money.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have the Bitcoin, let's call it accepting Bitcoin solution for high-end goods. And you've got this exchange that you're working on. What other practical real-life examples or cases have you got, or solutions have you got that you've done that we can talk about here?
So I'll split that into two.
Yes.
Okay? So I've done a meetup in Nicosia like 2-3 years ago. I can't remember exactly. But there were two guys from Africa that were studying in Nicosia, and they saw us wearing some Bitcoin t-shirts and stuff, and they came to sit with us, ask us a few questions, and we explained how this works. And they said, and I get goosebumps every time I tell this story, they said that they are sending 100 euros back to their families, and their families receive 75 euros, through remittances and all the intermediaries involved.
Like Western Union.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Cutthroat.
Exactly. So maybe for me and you, thankfully, thank God, 25 euros is nothing. But for these people, it's a huge amount,
But it's 25% of the money that was sent. It's
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And when you understand about Bitcoin, I just sent you $3 with zero fees. Imagine this technology, how life-changing it is for this kind of people. So if we start from that, I'm trying to teach people that actually need it, and let's hope I go to all these countries and be a part of that as well, to help this kind of people, to actually use the decentralized protocol. Yeah. So, and then we go to the other side that we're trying to build payment platforms for e-commerce stores to actually accept it, legally accept it in their e-commerce stores, POS machines, EMI applications to put in their infrastructure, and how to do it properly, securely, and legally. I hate it when people attach the blockchain space. They show that when they attach Bitcoin to scams. I hate that, because unfortunately 95% of the projects are scams, unfortunately. Yeah, and they give the Bitcoin network a bad name.
But so I think it is a natural outcome. There's always going to be some scammer out there. There's going to find some platform.
Willingly or not, by the way. Yeah, willingly or not.
Yeah, scams, yeah. Okay. Wait, expand on that. What do you mean not willingly? How can you be a scam by mistake? Yeah, I didn't mean to.
Because they didn't know what they were doing. They think that the blockchain is some sort of savior for everything, But if you actually study the technology, then you understand that 90% of the use cases that we're talking about, it cannot help. The blockchain cannot help.
Right.
Yeah. It needs to be centralized in order to help. So why use it? Why not just use a centralized ledger to do it, or QR codes or stuff?
And I think there's with anything, right? Like Bitcoin, for example, you're going to get people like yourself who, see actual value in what it specifically does and find a specific use case and fix it. There are going to be people who want to speculate on just the price, right? And then say, this is such a volatile product that goes up and down in the years. I want to try and cash in on that, And then there's, people who are looking to defraud people or whatever it is, and they get to understand the technology and what ways they can convince them to send money or whatever it is. But I think first and foremost is educating people, right, in platforms like this. And I think you mentioned a really good point before, where this technology comes out and then all of these beautiful ideas come out, and then people want to start running before actually putting down a practical, real work case scenario, which is just a basic thing, right?
Payments, a basic thing.
Just payment. So, and I can appreciate that, and that's what you're focusing on. You're focusing on just, let's fix this payments problem. Nothing else, right? Where that's not to say that these other ideas don't have merit, right? The idea of full digital economy that is linked to, I mean, I'll speak from my experience. In this year, I've needed to be involved in cases related to the government. There's so much paperwork and this massive overhead, and you walk into the government's office and there's just files and papers and people are lost. There's too little people, understaffed and backlogs, and it's clunky. Where digitalization, creating a proper digital environment where a lot of these things can be automated, and the way you store, let's keep it basic. Like, why have a piece of paper or file with so much paper that's physically stored that can wear and tear and get lost and fade? Just put that on a digital place.
I agree with the digital part. I don't know if I agree with the blockchain part. So do that. It might create more problems than benefits. That's the point.
You're saying to verify the documents that are sitting on a blockchain and are linked to, because you mentioned, right, the block is data. It doesn't have to be specifically a transaction.
Exactly.
So a file that is a title deed of an apartment or a house can be stored on one of these blocks, and that's its verification. Are you saying that maybe is not necessary? Just have that file.
So it needs to be centralized to work. Yeah. So if we remove ourselves from one central entity into another,
okay,
it might make our lives a bit easier. Yep. But what happens if the blockchain gets hacked, or your wallet gets hacked? It needs to be even more centralized than it should be, for someone not to have access to your wallet, because a lot of wallets get hacked every day. I cannot imagine how many. So if you have your title deeds on your wallet and then I hack you and steal it, who owns the real estate? So if it's going to be done, because blockchain, you can do that on the Bitcoin blockchain, by the way. Yeah. If you have important documents, just pay the $10, $20, $30 of fees, and just stamp it on the Bitcoin blockchain. You can do that. You cannot do it as easy as it should be. Yes. Yeah. But it will be very easy to do that. Title deeds, your will, any important documents should be on the most decentralized and secure blockchain. And if you are like me, that I don't have 100% trust on the government, let's say, in banks and all these authorities. I trust no one. That's the point of the Bitcoin network, to trust no one. To trust the code and math. That's it. Math never lies. I would use the Bitcoin blockchain. Let's hope I will, and my company will try to build something for that in the future. Not now. People are not ready for that. The government is not ready for that. Especially the land registry is not ready for that. They got hacked 6 months ago. I don't remember. They got hacked. What tells me that their blockchain will not be hacked?
If they're centralized.
Yeah, it's centralized now.
So
the system is centralized now, and they got hacked. I mean, how do I know? I mean, that's why I have a bit of a problem with. But I know that people will create new blockchains for different purposes. Yeah, I know some of them will work and people will use them at some point. I don't know if they will use them consistently, but they will use them for some things. Yeah, I can understand that. People will create NFTs. They will create tokens. Some people will use it. Some people will not. They will create digital worlds and the metaverse and stuff like that. It will help some people with some things, yeah. But Bitcoin will help 8 billion people have property rights. Okay, if you put it on a balance, I prefer to actually work with that and give my life to this rather than this. You know, that's my point. I'm not saying that everything is, you know, we should just throw it in the garbage. Yeah. Some use cases will be found, yes. As we break things and move on, some use cases will be found, yes.
Okay, so I mean, there's just so much to unpack there. There's so many questions that get open, and I think, you know, as we evolve in this thing, you know, Bitcoin is already, what is it, 15 years old now?
It's first came out 3rd of January 2009, so yeah, it's 14 and something. Yeah, almost 15. Yeah, almost 15. Nice.
Yeah. That's
brand new.
It's a new technology. It's 14 years old, whatever it is. You know, as we evolve, who knows? You know, a lot of these questions will be, if not already answered. I think it may be quite complicated for the majority of people out there. Like if we talk about the generation, our parents, you know, forget about it. You know, there are, I guess, a select few who understand, and you know, because they've put the effort. But I mean, these people have come from a world where, you know, there's money and, you know, balance sheets written down with pen and paper. You know,
but it's for everyone. Yeah, I want to make that clear. It's for everyone. If you understand scarcity and you understand the concept of money and what money is, yeah, you can not easily, but it's easier for you to understand what Bitcoin is. Okay, so if you understand that money has no limit, yeah, if you understand that you own it, the Bitcoin you own it, and nothing like the 2013 banking crisis can happen in Bitcoin, and you actually own it, nobody can take it from you. If those two things, I found out of my experience that those two things immediately spark the attention of someone.
Yeah.
And then the money also. The price going up helps. But price going up means that the demand is going up. So more people actually use it and keep it as a store of value.
Right. But, you know, what I'm talking about is the tangible. So if I were to go and tell my aunt or my mom or whoever, you know, my dad, listen, you know, store your money in Bitcoin. They won't know where to start, or they'll go, okay. I think they'll start from their mobile. I think that's where is it on Facebook they're asking? There's a lot of confusion. I think it's really hard, right? It's easy for you to understand. And I think there's a lot of topics which we've discussed over here that maybe people, for you, because you're in economy, like you studied economics, you studied business. This 1971, you know, where the gold standard was removed off of, you know, the dollar, the fiat currency, this printing of money, I think the repercussions of that, you understand it. Many people don't, you know. Today, that same person, somebody who was, let's say, you know, born in the 70s or even the 60s, right, thought this is $2,000 today and it buys me that, and I've got $2,000 40 years later, and okay, I understand inflation, whatever it is the way the world works. I don't understand why.
Mm-hmm. There is one nice metric to actually get that into, you know, numbers and facts. Like 30 years ago, 40 years ago, somewhere there, yeah, you needed 40 full wages to buy a house. So let's say you earned €1,000 per month, yeah, as an average wage. 1,000 euros per month, your house cost approximately 40k. Yeah, now it's around 1 to 200.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, it's unbelievable. So a lot of people cannot even afford to buy a house now.
So why hasn't the salary also gone up in the same ratio? Because the salary is in the same currency.
we can discuss that. I mean, it can take hours, or
Yeah.
I can explain it like they want you poor. I mean, you have to understand money. Okay, if we have inflation of 10%, which, come on, it's not 10%. Okay, but let's say it's 10%. Okay, your wage needs to rise 10 and above every year to catch up with inflation. Okay, but
Employer's not going to do that.
Exactly. That's the point. So you need some sort of escape from that. Okay, that's investing. But you need something that steadily goes up with a finite supply that nobody can take away from you. If you find something better than Bitcoin, be my guest. I will invest in that as well. Yeah, but you need something that's finite in supply.
So in your opinion, Naso, and without, the disclaimer is this is not financial advice, but we speak about you. I'm asking you specifically. The NASDAQ, which is, an index that has got all the companies, most of the biggest companies in the US, which is a strong economy, or, let's say you diversify your money on indexes, stocks, ETFs, versus Bitcoin. You are always going to put all your money, all of it. It's Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin for you.
We can have it down, and compare them all, But it always comes to my head, and I say, okay, who owns the NASDAQ? Is it a lot of people or just two companies, let's say, as we discussed before?
Yeah.
Do I trust those companies? Do I trust that they have control over it to do something? I mean, it always comes back to that. And I prefer that I have my money there and I have my own business to actually make money through that. And I have my money stored safely somewhere that can appreciate more than 10% per year, even 20%. You never know. The demand for Bitcoin will always rise, in my opinion, because we actually need it. It's actually essential for people in Lebanon, Argentina, Turkey. I mean, it's essential for those people, and it will be essential for us. But a nice saying I have, and I always say this, it's better to buy an umbrella before it starts raining. Yeah. The people in Lebanon, hopefully they had Bitcoin. Not a lot of them had Bitcoin. Let's change that with Cyprus, Just don't wait for the next big crisis and the next big thing to happen in order for you to buy something to store your wealth in. Let's just not wait for that. Just be proactive and use these applications. We can talk about Freedom Tech all day long. I mean, we created, not we as a company, but as a community, a lot of applications. Let's say the Nostr protocol is a protocol that it's a Twitter-like app, an X-like app now, that's fully decentralized and nobody has control over the protocol. You can even use the Lightning Network on Bitcoin to send zaps and tip someone if you like their content or if you want to sponsor them for something. I mean, there's a lot of interesting things you can do with decentralized tech and freedom tech, as we call it. People should learn how to use that. And I'm sure that as time goes on and they spend 50 or 100 hours, as we said before, they will understand the whole concept of decentralization and they will never even look at NASDAQ anymore. I'm pretty sure about that. Yeah.
This is all, everybody speaks from their own, let's call it perspective, your own perspective.
Exactly.
You've got your your financial capabilities, what your current earnings are, where you're getting your revenue from, what you can invest in Bitcoin. But just here's a real scenario that can happen, right? This is a very real scenario that can happen, where somebody who might be listening to this and say, Naso, you speak in sense, know what you're talking about. I really believe what you're saying, and I'm gonna do this. So this person, let's say for example, is on a wage of €2,000 a month, whatever it is, and they've managed to save, do savings, €10,000, right? Now that €10,000 is a considerable amount because €2,000 doesn't get to make ends meet. It's money that's in the month. That person goes and takes this €10,000, puts it into Bitcoin, and then what happens? They keep looking at it every day, every single day, right? And then 2 weeks down the line, it's gone down to 6,000. And that's burning them, right? They're like, oh my God, I've lost. And that's what happens. I think this emotional thing will happen to anyone. It is a very real thing that can happen. And then you exit and you've lost. The idea is, and what you're saying is,
Cost average.
Cost average, and also over a long period of time. It's an eventual thing. And cost average. This is also what I spoke with actually Stiliana. Yeah, we spoke about that dollar cost average. She called it dollar cost averaging.
It's dollar cost, but it's a euro cost.
It can be
just
whatever.
Cost average.
Just cost average. Whatever your main revenue is, you put slowly, and over the period of time, you diversify your risk across the time span that you invest. And you're not,
You get the ups, you get the downs.
You get the ups and
the point is to have as much Bitcoin as possible.
Yeah.
That's it. But people should, yes, that's an important thing you just mentioned. People should know that prices of something new, as was with the internet, in the 1999-2000 bubble. Amazon, I think, fell like 90%.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we all know what happened.
Yeah.
But the point is, if you understand it, then the stress goes off. Yeah. If you don't understand it, please just put 5 euros in or 10 euros in, just send it to a friend, receive it back, understand what's happening, study, spend 50 hours on it, and then actually proceed. Don't just put money in something, whatever that thing is. Just never put money in something because your friend told you or because your cousin bought a car with the brand new money that he's, just actually study. And if you believe in it, just do it. But in my opinion, and especially about Bitcoin, don't see it as an investment if you're just starting. Okay, see it as a store of value, as a network that gives you the right to have an asset that can never be taken from you. And secondly, see it as something that you will give to your kids. Okay, that's a first step.
Naso, believe it or not, there's so much more we can talk about here. There's this freedom tech you spoke about, that is also quite interesting. Maybe we do another session here, or let people know where they can find you. More than an hour's already gone past, believe it or not, and I mean this conversation can go as is the case in all my discussions over here. Where can maybe people find more about what you're talking about? How can they find you? Maybe we set up another session. I'll actually, invite people to comment. I want another session, talk about this or that. Feel free to comment. Let's hear where people can find you. Thank you for your time.
I thank you for having me. So I'm mostly on Twitter. I X now. Go to Portfolium CY. That's my business. Portfolium.
Portfolium.com.
It's now it's portfoliumgroup.com. Yeah, that's it basically. And LinkedIn. That's Nasos Katsiamides. Yeah, that's it. I'm sharing Bitcoin content, and I'll be happy to have you and discuss, or I'm always happy to answer questions.
Great. Thank you, Nasos. Thank you so much for your time. It was an insightful discussion. So much more to unwrap here. We're out of time. We can go on for long. Thank you for your time. And looking forward to the next one.
Thank you.